I never thought a break-in would happen to me. Growing up, I always heard stories on the news about people finding strangers inside their homes or hearing someone trying to force their way through a door in the middle of the night. It always sounded terrifying, but it also felt distant, like one of those things that happened to other people, not me. That changed on a rainy Friday night when I was 16. My parents had gone out of town for the weekend to visit my grandmother. They asked if I wanted to come with them, but I had plans to hang out with friends on Saturday, so I stayed home. My older brother was supposed to stay with me, but he got called into work unexpectedly and wouldn't be back until late. That left me alone. At first, it felt awesome. I ordered pizza, watched videos in the living room, and blasted music while cleaning up the kitchen. Outside, the weather kept getting worse. The rain hammered against the windows. Wind rattled the trees surrounding our house. Every now and then, lightning flashed across the sky, turning the dark backyard bright white for a split second before everything disappeared into darkness again. Around 10:30 p.m., I locked all the doors and headed upstairs. Our house sat at the end of a quiet road with woods behind it. At night, there wasn't much to hear besides insects and the occasional car passing in the distance. I changed into sweatpants and climbed into bed. For about an hour, I watched videos on my phone. Then, sometime after midnight, I heard a noise, a loud metallic clang. My eyes snapped away from my phone. The sound had come from downstairs. I sat up and listened. Nothing. The house was silent except for rain tapping against the roof. I figured maybe something had fallen over in the garage, or maybe the wind knocked something outside. I tried to ignore it. A few minutes later, another sound echoed through the house. Clang. This time it sounded closer, like it came from the kitchen. My stomach tightened. I muted my phone and listened carefully. Then, a faint scraping sound, like metal dragging against metal. I slowly got out of bed. The hallway outside my room was dark. The only light came from a small nightlight plugged in near the stairs. I stepped into the hallway and listened. The scraping stopped. I remember feeling stupid. I was convincing myself someone was downstairs when it was probably just the storm. Still, something felt wrong. I quietly walked to the top of the stairs. The entire first floor was dark. The kitchen, dining room, living room, everything. I couldn't see anything unusual. Then lightning flashed. For a split second, the back door became visible, and I noticed something. The door wasn't fully shut. It was open just a few inches. I froze. I knew I locked it. I specifically remembered locking it. My heart immediately started pounding. Maybe my brother had come home, but his car wasn't in the driveway. And why would he leave the door hanging open? I slowly backed away from the stairs. The logical thing would have been calling the police immediately. Instead, I convinced myself there was probably a reasonable explanation. I grabbed my phone and texted my brother. "Are you home?" No response. A minute later, I heard something downstairs. Footsteps. Very slow footsteps. My blood ran cold. Someone was definitely inside. The footsteps moved across the hardwood floor. I locked myself inside my bedroom and called my brother. Straight to voicemail. Then I called 911. The dispatcher answered immediately. Trying to stay quiet, I whispered that I thought someone had broken into my house. She told me officers were on the way and asked me to stay hidden. As I sat on the floor beside my bed, I kept hearing noises downstairs. Cabinets opening, objects moving, the sound of someone searching through things. For several minutes, that's all I heard. Then everything stopped. Completely. The dispatcher stayed on the phone with me. I kept telling her I couldn't hear anything anymore. Then I heard something that made my stomach drop. A floorboard creaked. Right outside my bedroom. Someone was upstairs. I nearly stopped breathing. The hallway floor outside my room creaked again. Slow, careful, deliberate. The person wasn't stomping around. They were trying to be quiet, trying not to be heard. The dispatcher kept asking if I was okay. I could barely answer. The footsteps got closer, then stopped directly outside my door. I stared at the doorknob, waiting, praying. The room felt impossibly silent. Then the doorknob moved, very slowly. The person twisted it back and forth, testing it, trying to open it. I held my breath. The lock held. For about 10 seconds, the doorknob kept moving. Then it stopped. The person didn't leave. I could sense they were still standing there, listening, waiting. Suddenly, 3 loud knocks hit the door. Bang, bang, bang. I nearly screamed. A man's voice came through the wood, calm, almost friendly. "Hello?" I didn't answer. "Anybody in there?" The dispatcher heard it too. She immediately told me officers were arriving. The man stood silently for several seconds. Then I heard footsteps retreat down the hallway. Fast. Much faster than before. A door slammed downstairs, then silence. I thought he had left. I really did. A few moments later, red and blue lights flashed through my bedroom window. The police had arrived. Relief flooded through me. I rushed downstairs and opened the front door. 2 officers entered immediately. I explained everything while they searched the house. A few minutes later, one officer returned from the backyard. His expression looked serious. "Do you have a ladder?" I shook my head. "No." He exchanged a look with his partner. "What?" The officer sighed. He didn't leave. My heart dropped. The officer explained that muddy footprints led across the backyard, but instead of heading toward the road, they stopped beneath the roof overhang. Whoever had broken in climbed onto the roof. They were still searching when another officer shouted from outside. Everyone ran. I followed to the back door. A flashlight beam illuminated the roof. There was a man crouched near my bedroom window, just sitting there, watching. The moment the flashlight hit him, he jumped. He landed in the backyard and sprinted into the woods. The officers chased him, but he disappeared into the darkness. For the next hour, police searched the area. They never found him. Eventually, officers collected evidence and left. One stayed behind long enough to explain something that made everything worse. The man had entered through the back door. There were pry marks around the frame. But according to the officer, it didn't look like a random burglary. The man hadn't stolen anything valuable. Instead, he had spent most of his time moving through the house, looking around, checking rooms, almost as if he were searching for someone. Me. My brother came home around 3 a.m. I barely slept. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow looked wrong. The next morning, police returned. They found additional footprints in the woods behind our property. The trail led to an abandoned hunting cabin about half a mile away. Inside, officers found food wrappers, blankets, and empty water bottles. Someone had been living there, possibly for weeks, maybe longer. What terrified me most wasn't the cabin. It was what they found inside. There were photographs, not of random people, of our house. Pictures taken from the woods. Pictures taken during the day. Pictures taken at night. Photos of our driveway. Photos of our backyard. Photos of my bedroom window. Some looked recent. Others appeared weeks old. The person had been watching us, studying us, learning our routines. The police believed the break-in wasn't spontaneous. The man had likely planned it for a long time. After hearing that, I felt sick. I kept wondering how many times he had stood in those woods watching. How many times I walked past a window while he stared. How many nights he sat out there waiting. For months afterward, I couldn't sleep without checking every lock multiple times. Every strange noise made my heart race. Every shadow outside a window made me nervous, but the worst part happened nearly a year later. I was helping my dad clean the garage. We were going through old boxes when I noticed something sitting on a shelf near the back wall. A small digital camera. Neither of us recognized it. The camera was old and covered in dust. At first, we assumed it belonged to my brother. Then we turned it on. There were hundreds of photos stored inside. Every single one was taken by the man who broke into our house. Pictures from the woods. Pictures from the road. Pictures from our backyard. Some had been taken from shockingly close distances. One photo showed me sitting in the living room watching TV. Another showed me eating breakfast in the kitchen. The timestamp revealed something horrifying. The pictures were taken weeks before the break-in, meaning the man had already been on our property multiple times before that night, possibly even inside the house. The final image on the camera made me feel physically sick. It was a photo of my bedroom door, taken from inside the hallway. The timestamp showed it was captured nearly 2 weeks before the night I called 911. Someone had been standing outside my bedroom while I slept, and I never knew. The police never identified the man. No fingerprints matched anyone in their system. No arrests were made. The case eventually went cold. To this day, nobody knows who he was, or why he was so obsessed with our house. What I do know is this: sometimes I think about that photo of my bedroom door. I think about the fact that he had been inside before. I think about how close he got. And I think about the moment police found him crouched on the roof outside my window, watching, waiting. If I hadn't called 911 when I did, I honestly don't know what would have happened to me that night.